Hello. Yeah, I'm still around. It's been a while since I did a video, and I didn't realize it had been about a week. So, time flies when you're having fun, and I've been having quite a bit of fun. Uh, I'll show you right here. These heads right here had a lot of detonation problems, and it was so bad you can even see down in here in a few of these spots some of these little marks is where it had detonation problems. So that took a little bit of doing to try to finesse these spots out without taking a lot of metal out of the combustion chamber. So, but like I showed you last time, guys, I have this pretty well rounded in, pretty smooth all around the plug area. I hope you can tell. The hot spots that were sticking up before are pretty well cut back, and as you guys remember, hopefully, if you saw my last video, I tapered this back. Now, I'm not sure what's going to happen here. Our buddy here that owns these heads might have these milled down. I haven't really discussed that with him, but if you take a head to a machine shop, make sure you check it once you get it cut down, because these areas that I tapered back right here around the combustion chamber will be sharp again. So some guys take care of that. It depends who your machinist is. I've only seen a very few people that take care of these problems, and that's something that's a little bit time consuming sometimes, and a lot of guys don't do it. So if your machine shop guy doesn't cut this back or taper it in, however you want to call it, make sure you take a piece of sandpaper or whatever you want to use to take the sharp edges back off around the combustion chamber. So these are a lot better than they were before. This whole head had a lot more problems than I originally thought, as far as flaws and a few performance problems. My last video I showed you guys about how it was hindered here around the exhaust valve, and I cut this back, and it had a low spot right around the seat area, and then I blended it in here because this stuck up and shrouded around the seat right here too. So I cut that back, but it also had a lip right around here. So I don't know if you can see where it kind of was before. There's a little bit of a shadow there. Like I said, guys, all I tried to do is taper stuff in. I didn't want to take any more metal out of the combustion chamber than I had to. So these are 99.5% done. I have some bad weather moving in here. A little bit spooky looking there. So rather than rush what I'm doing here and maybe overlook something, then I'm going to just call it quits for today and save this for a fresh day. So I think we may be putting a new valve job on these two, as far as I know. I just spoke to our buddy about it, and he's going to you get cotton mouth doing this stuff, guys. I gotta definitely start bringing a drink out here. He's going to discuss it with the guy that does his machine work. So that's totally up to them. A fresh valve job will never ever hurt anything, unless you have a fella do it that don't know what he's doing. But in most cases, if a guy's been in business for years, he will know how to do a decent valve job. So that all comes with the territory of who you're dealing with. So anyway, that's just my opinion. Now, if these were my heads, what I would like to do, like I said before, is have them milled down and a fresh valve job put on them. So that's just how I look at it. And of course it comes down to this: if some people don't have the money to do certain things. But I will say this, on the other side of the coin, if you're going this far right here, this is the most important thing you could do to these heads, is a good valve job and the bowl area. Well, I always say, if you do a good valve job and a good bowl area, is halfway home on performance. But that's usually where a lot of the problems are in a cylinder head. I see guys that neglect ripping down a new pair of heads, and they'll just stick them on the car, and then they find out that the seats run out. And I had a friend of mine, he shined a flashlight under the valve through the runner, and every seat he could see light through the valve. A brand new pair of heads, and they were not cheap heads. These were major brand heads. So I don't want to beat anybody up. There's no sense saying what brand it was, and I'm going to tell you why. Because that could happen, and it does happen to all brands, unless you have a company that stands behind their work and guarantees that things are hand blended in afterwards or gone over, and they guarantee that not to be a problem, which is hard to find now. I've seen companies that did that back in the day. They said out of the box you did not have to touch them heads. I only see a couple guys that do that now, and they're not $2,000 heads, they're $10,000 cylinder heads, and they're guys already doing the work themselves, and they're in there with the professionalism that they need. When you pay that much money for a cylinder head, that stuff better be done. That's just my opinion. So it's to be expected, is my point. But you get it's pretty bad when a $2,000 pair of cylinder heads has to be low end. In today's market, it's low end. And especially, these companies keep buying each other out, and the quality in most of the time goes. Head companies, a lot of guys that had head companies were affiliated with racing. Now you have people just buying these companies out that they're just into it for the money. So they don't care about the product as much as the guy that took pride in making a decent cylinder head back in the day. That's just my opinion. Some of my way of looking at some of this stuff. It doesn't mean that I'm 100% right. It's just things to think about. My way of looking at stuff. And it doesn't mean that I'm always 100% on target when I talk. So just take what I say with a little grain of salt, and use your own opinion when you do this kind of work, or buy a pair of cylinder heads, or anything to do with your car. Because no matter who you talk to in the racing world, even if they have a fast car or they're very good at making power, they might not be right when it comes to something to do with your vehicle. I say this all the time because I've seen it too many times where guys will say it's my way or the highway. I had a friend that used to say that. It used to make me mad because he was in all the books back in the day, and he had a fast car, and if you didn't want to do things his way, he would tell you to leave his shop. So I did. He gave me a hard time about a couple things on my car that he was helping me with at the time, and he said my idea, the idea I had to do with my timing, wasn't going to help me out, and he did not want me doing that. And if I was determined to do that, I could do it down the road. So I drove out of his driveway, left his garage, went down the road. I think I pulled into a firehouse and did it my way. And then, I'm not bragging, but the car would snap your neck after I did it my way. It was to do with the timing. And he was giving me a hard time about that, saying, it doesn't make any difference where you put that distributor in at and this, that, and well, I thought it did. And it just comes down to this, guys. Here's a guy that was in all the books back in the day, ran the circuit in the Ford Mustang shootouts and all this stuff, knew what he was doing, fast car, but when it came to a couple things on my vehicle, he was, what word am I looking for here? Wrong. So, always use your opinion, guys. It's okay to listen to somebody that knows what they're doing, especially if you don't know, but don't take it 100% unless you know that that is 100% correct. That's my point. Because you'd be losing something on the table sometimes when it comes to power and time slips. We had a suspension guy tell us what to do with our car and argue with my son about it down the track. And he told my son, if you mess with that suspension, that car is not going to pick up anything. So my son, being like me, he says it's not going to hurt to try. He reached under there and set that suspension how he thought it should be. And they told him the car would not pick up another tenth, I believe it was, in a 60 foot. Because it was already doing pretty well, if I remember right. But what's Adam do? Does it his way? I think he went out there and went even better than what they said he wouldn't do. I've seen that 3 or 4 times out of my son. And these are guys that know stuff. This isn't people that don't know things. We deal with some pretty bright guys that we know in the racing world. So that's why I make it the point to tell you guys, no matter what I say, no matter what anybody says, don't be afraid to do your own thinking and do your own homework. I'm going to get a drink here in a second, guys. I need one. I'm cotton mouth. So with that, I'm going to show you these heads one more time. And like I always tell you guys, I don't go for pretty, I go for power. And most of the things I did to these heads right here, I did a couple little extra things to them that I thought would help them out, and it took some time. So once in a while you just have to take the extra time that you need to well, especially when you're correcting problems. Here's one more thing I want to say. If you're going to go through the trouble of putting cylinder heads on your car, don't you want the most out of them you can get? So that's why I always push this stuff about, you always have to make sure the valve job is good, because if it's not, you might as well keep that $1,000 or that $2,000 right in your pocket. You'd be better off doing a pair of stock production heads and doing them right with a good valve job than you would putting a aftermarket pair of cylinder heads on with a crappy valve job. You probably pick up more power with the production factory stuff done right than you would with a pair of leaky seats and thinking you did something great. Well, I got these heads now. I can't wait to get them on the car. That's what we all do. And then the car don't run any faster or barely any faster. Now, I'm not saying you can't get away with it sometimes. It depends on what brand, how lucky you are. Maybe one guy did the machining better, that casted the head, than another fellow did. You never know who's doing what at these companies. One guy might be a school kid that they hired to do the job. Another guy might be a professional guy that knows what he's doing. One guy might take pride in what he's doing. Another guy might say, they're not paying me enough money here. Just do whatever. This is life. This is what we deal with. And that's why I tell you guys what I say about this kind of stuff. But with that, you've heard me ramble enough. I just try to always give you a little bit of extra incentive here, or my way of thinking, how I look at things, so you kind of know where I'm coming from with this stuff. But it looks like I got some weather moving in here, and I have to get this stuff off the car, clean up my little area here, and I gotta go and get a drink, guys. I'm gonna start bringing a drink out here with me. That'd be the easy thing to do, but no, not Terry here. I get too busy out here grinding, don't want to stop, and have my shirt stuck to me, and bullheaded, guys. All these years, you think I'd learn and know a little bit better than that, but I don't. So with that, fellas, I've always wanted to tell you, thanks for watching, and always want to say God bless to you fellas, because we surely need God in our life. That's why I say that. And some people need to know that. Other people do know that. But if you don't, that's what gets me through in life. I will say that. So, a little bit of Terry's way of looking at things. How I feel about some things, guys. With that, God bless you, everybody, and take care.